right, welcome back. Now that we've practiced the zero product property, we're going to go ahead and go all the way in on solving these quadratic equations. Remember, anytime you're asked to solve a quadratic equation, you want to start by writing that equation in standard form, which means make it equal to 0. Step 2 is factor. That's what we've been practicing since before school even got out. Today, the only thing that's new is using that zero product property to find the zeros. Everything else you have learned in the past. So let's first ask ourselves, is this thing in standard form? It is not. I need to add 24 to each side to make that equal to 0. So now I have n squared minus 10n plus 24 equals 0. So that's step 1, writing that equation in standard form. Now step 2 is to factor, and that's just talking about factoring that trinomial. So we're doing a times c. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to be positive 24 and add to be negative 10. That gives us negative 6 and negative 4. So that becomes n squared minus 6n minus 4n plus 24 equals 0. Factor this into two groups. This becomes n times n minus 6. I'm going to take out the negative 4 here. Whoops, that shouldn't be an equal sign. That should be a plus. Negative 4 times n minus 6, and that equals 0. These two become n minus 6 equals 0. So that's factoring. So we have written it in standard form, we have factored. Now we need to use our zero product property, and that is just taking these two factors, n minus 6 and minus 4 equals 0. So in order to get a solution of negative 24 in this equation, we could either have n be equal to 6, or we could have n be equal to 4. Those are your solutions. Use this problem as an example. Go ahead and pause the video, and you try example 4 on your own. Welcome back. You should have started by getting this in standard form by subtracting 18 from each side. So then you should have n squared plus 3n minus 18 equals 0. That's writing it in standard form. Now we're ready to factor. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to be negative 18 and add to be 3. That becomes 6 and negative 3. So this becomes n squared minus 3n plus 6n minus 18 equals, break it up into two groups. GCF of the first group is n, so that leaves us with n minus 3. GCF of the second group is 6, so that leaves us with n minus 3, and that equals 0. So now we have n plus 6 times n minus 3 equals 0. That is factoring. That's not new to you. The only thing that's new today is once we factor, we take those two pieces. N plus 6 could be equal to 0, or n minus 3 could be equal to 0. Subtract 6 from both sides, so n could be negative 6, or add 3 to both sides, so n could be 3. What that means is, in order to take some number, square it, and add 3 times that number and get 18, either negative 6 or positive 3 would make that work. Good job. All right, let's try a few more. Remember, we're writing it in standard form, then we're factoring, then we're using that zero product property. So for this one's a little different than some of the ones we've done. This one has a constant on each side. Your instinct from solving linear equations is to subtract 19 from each side, but that is not getting it in standard form. In standard form, we want the whole thing to be equal to 0. So instead of getting the 19 and the negative 5 together, as we would do if this were a linear equation, instead we're going to add 5 to each side. So I get x squared minus 11x plus 24 equals 0. So now I'm looking for two things that multiply to be 24 and add to be negative 11. And those things are negative 8 and negative 3. Okay, I'm about to teach you a shortcut. You ready? This shortcut only works when a is 1. In this example, a is 1. So I can jump straight to the factored form. You ready? I know that if a is 1, and my magic numbers are negative 8 and negative 3, the format's going to be the same every time. One of these is going to be n minus 8, one of these is going to be n minus 3. Remember, that only works if a is 1. If a is anything else, you have to go through and do the whole process, which is why we don't teach it that way from the beginning. Now we're going to do the zero product property. N minus 8 equals 0, n minus 3 equals 0. Add 8 to both sides, so n equals 8. Add 3 to both sides, so n equals 3. So your two answers are 8 and 3. Pause the video, try example 2 on your own. I want you to notice that A is 1. So see if you can use the shortcut on this one. See if you can save yourself some time on the factoring and jump straight to the shortcut. Go ahead and pause the video and try this now. You should have started by subtracting 5 from each side. So we have n squared plus 7n plus 10 is equal to 0. I still need to find my magic numbers. Even if I'm going to use the shortcut, I need those. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply to be 10 and add to be 7. Those numbers are 5 and 2. All right, A is 1. There's an invisible 1 in front of the n, so that means I can use the shortcut. This will work every time that A is 1. I just put the variable there, and then the two magic numbers on the inside, plus 5 and plus 2. Again, that will only work if A is 1. If A was 2, we would have to go through the whole process. Now I can use the zero product property. N plus 5 equals 0. N plus 2 equals 0. Minus 5 from each side, so n equals negative 5. Minus 2 from each side, so n equals negative 2. So my two solutions are negative 5 and negative 2. Nice job. Code word of the day. Write this in your notes now. One of the things I did over the past few weeks was finally put together my Lego model of Central Perk from the show Friends. My husband got me this for Christmas, and we just had never taken the time to put it together. It took us a long time, but we got it put together, and it looks great. Today's code word for the video is friends. This will be for a grade. Write it down and be ready to submit it on the IP. All right, let's look at an application problem. Suppose we know that the area of a rectangle is 234 feet squared. What that means is the length times the width is 234. But I don't actually know the numbers for the length and the width. I know that the length is x plus 8 and the width is x plus 3. And that equals 234. Now, it looks like this is already pre-factored, so I should just be able to find the zeros. But remember, I'm finding the zeros. I need this to be equal to 0, which means I need to subtract 234 from each side, and I can't subtract 234 from the factored form. So I'm going to need to multiply this out first. I'm going to do x times x plus 3. Remember, I'm breaking this up into two pieces and multiplying it times the parentheses. Plus 8 times x plus 3. And that equals 234. I'm going to distribute, so we get x squared plus 3x plus 8x plus 24 equals 234. I'm going to simplify, so x squared plus 11x plus 24 equals 234. Now I'm ready to get this into standard form, minus 234 from each side. So I'm going to get my calculator. I'm going to do 24 minus 234, and I get negative 210. Now, I don't expect you to know this off the top of your head when you're ready to find your magic numbers. I do expect you to go through the process. So we could do 1 times 210, no. 2 times 105, no. I'm going to get out my calculator. I'm going to do 210 divided by 3. Doesn't go in evenly. Oh, it does, 3 and 70. Those are not going to add or subtract to make 11, so we keep going. 210 divided by 4, that doesn't go in evenly. 210 divided by 5, that's 5 and 42. Those are not going to add and subtract to make 11. 210 divided by 6, 6 and 35. Nope, those aren't going to add or subtract to make 11. 210 divided by 7, that's 7 and 30. Nope, those aren't going to add or subtract to make 11. 210 divided by 8. No. 210 divided by 9. No. 210 divided by 10. Here we go. 10 and 21 are 11 apart. I want a negative 210, which means only one of these can be negative. I need the 11 to be positive, so this is going to be a positive 21 and a negative 10. All right, one more shot at seeing the shortcut. Since A is 1, I can go ahead and put this into the shortcut. X and X. We're going to do minus 10 plus 21, and that has to be equal to 0. Now I'm ready to break it up into its zero product property. X minus 10 equals 0. X plus 21 equals 0. Add 10 to each side. So X equals 10. That's 21 from each side. So X equals negative 21. Now, the nice thing is I can throw one of these out. Can the dimensions of a rectangle be negative 21 plus 3, which is negative 18? Definitely not. So I'm not going to use the negative. I'm only going to use equals 10. The dimensions are not 10 and negative 21. Those are the values for x. The dimensions are here, the x plus 3 and the x plus 8. If I know x is 10, that means the width is 13 and the length is 18. Great job today. Please go to Mrs. McNeely's haiku page and find the links for solving quadratics by factoring IP. Use the video, your notes, and office hours to complete that IP. Make sure you email me with any questions or concerns. I know we're far from each other right now, but I'm still here to help. Miss all of you so much. Have a great day.